So, how does a tiny little island, a country with no natural resources, not even its own water supply, surrounded by, let's be honest, not so friendly neighbors, somehow become a global financial superpower? Well, today we're going to dig into the absolutely incredible story of Singapore's journey to becoming a trillion-dollar island fortress. A monumental pillar of global trade that shouldn't exist. Seriously, just let that sink in for a second. That quote basically says that Singapore's success defies all logic. It shouldn't be here, yet it is. So, the billion-dollar question, or in this case, the trillion-dollar question, is how on earth did they pull it off? To really wrap your head around modern Singapore, you have to start with just how impossible it all seemed. I mean, imagine a nation that's born with literally nothing. No oil, no diamonds, no vast farmlands, heck, not even enough fresh water to drink. That was their starting point. And here's the real kicker. Singapore didn't even choose to be independent. It was forced on them. In 1965, it was literally kicked out of Malaysia and just left for dead. A tiny, vulnerable island, completely alone. You know, the question back then wasn't, how do we get rich? It was, how do we survive the next year? I mean, just look at this contrast. It's night and day. On the left, you've got 1965, zero resources, no real allies, and basically no hope. And on the right, you have today, a powerhouse financial hub, a global symbol of stability, with over $1 trillion in assets. The jump from one to the other is just staggering. So how did they do it? Let me tell you, this was not luck. This was a plan. A meticulous, brilliantly crafted plan. And the architect behind it all was Singapore's founding father, Lee Kuan Yew. And his big idea, his stroke of genius, really, was realizing that in a chaotic and messy world, the most valuable resource isn't oil or gold, it's trust. His master plan wasn't to build a fortress of bricks and stone, but a fortress of something way, way stronger. Absolute, unshakable integrity. And here's basically how that four-step plan works. You start with absolute integrity, no corruption, period. Then you back that up with an ironclad rule of law, so everyone knows the rules are fair and they will always be enforced. That kind of predictability is like a magnet for the world's biggest corporations, and before you know it, you've become the world's safe deposit box, the ultimate safe haven. Okay, so you've built this amazing foundation of trust. Now what? Well, now you need the financial firepower to protect it. And this is where Singapore got really smart. They forged these incredible tools not just to get rich, but to build a national war chest that would guarantee their survival no matter what. First on the list is Temasek. Think of it like the strategic CEO of Singapore Inc. Its job is to own and manage the country's most important assets. We're talking the airline, the ports, the big banks. It's all about making sure the core economic engines of the country are always running perfectly. But then you've got the even bigger player, GIC. If Temasek is managing the family business at home, GIC is the globe-trotting investor. Its job is to take the nation's massive savings and invest them all over the world, buying up everything from real estate in London to stakes in tech companies in Silicon Valley, all to grow that national nest egg. And what happens when you put these two financial machines together? You get this. Over $1 trillion. Let's be clear, this isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. This is the financial wall of the fortress. It's a rainy day fund so enormous that it allows Singapore to weather pretty much any economic storm you can throw at it. But, you know, a fortress is only as strong as the storms it can actually survive. And believe me, Singapore's financial fortress has been put to the test against some of the biggest economic hurricanes in modern history. Just think about the two ultimate stress tests. First, you had the 1997 Asian financial crisis, which absolutely wiped out economies all around them. And then, a decade later, the 2008 global meltdown, the one that started on Wall Street and almost brought the entire world to its knees. And in both of those world-shaking crises, the outcome for Singapore was exactly the same. While other countries were watching their banks and their currencies completely collapse, Singapore's fortress just stood firm. They had played it safe. In fact, get this. During the 2008 crisis, Singapore was so secure, it was actually investing in struggling Western banks, not the other way around. So what happens when you prove, time and time again, that you are, without a doubt, the safest place on earth to park your money during a crisis? Well, something fascinating happens. You stop being just a safe haven and start becoming a destination, a lifestyle, the ultimate 21st century status symbol for the global elite. This right here is the reward for all that long-term planning. It's immense wealth, yeah, but it's also that bulletproof reputation as the world's safe haven. It's the unmatched stability. At this point, opening an office or buying a home in Singapore isn't just a financial decision, it's a statement. It tells the rest of the world that you've made it. But here's the thing. The world never, ever stands still. The game is always changing. And that means even the most perfectly designed fortress has to constantly adapt to face the challenges of tomorrow. Think about it. The stable, globalized world that Singapore completely mastered is starting to crack. You've got nationalism on the rise, which threatens the free trade that is Singapore's lifeblood. And then there's digital disruption, which is rewriting the entire rulebook of finance. The old threats were storms you could see coming. These new ones are something else entirely. Which brings us to the final, really critical question. Singapore perfected the art of being the calm, stable center in a chaotic world. But what happens when the very nature of that chaos begins to change? It really makes you wonder, no matter how strong, how rich, or how smart you are, is any fortress truly unbreakable?